Good afternoon. Welcome to a vlog, blog, podcast, whatever we call these things. This is a project-specific podcast. We'll go with podcast. And this time it's all about crochet, and we are going to follow progress making the Boho Blanket, which it just looks crazy crochet, to be honest. Lots of new to me techniques, so I thought this would be a great vlog podcast series to follow through. So this is, I said, the Boho Blanket, and it's by Lucia Dunn, and it is a collaboration with Stylecraft. So we've got the wonderful blanket with matching cushion. I'm guessing I've got enough yarn to make the cushion. Undecided if I'm going to do that yet. I definitely want to make the blanket. If I've got enough yarn left over at the end, I'll probably have a go at the cushion as well. So yeah, this is going to be following progress as I go. It's currently Friday the 21st of August, and this is a Christmas project for Mark's mum, who quite often likes to sit of an evening reading, watching a bit of telly, often with a blanket wrapped around her. I've always wanted to do one of these crochet blankets. I think these crochet kits are great when they're made up, but I've never really had a need for one for us for the flat. I've made a crochet blanket which we have on our bed, which is great. It's lovely and squishy. It's actually made in this Stylecraft wool as well. But I know you can kind of follow the mantra that you can never have too many blankets, but I don't necessarily know when I would use the blankets, so it kind of felt a bit of a waste. So really fancied this kit because it's a bit crazy, and we'll come on to it in a minute about some of the design and the styling, but I definitely didn't have a need for it, and it wouldn't kind of match the decor in the flat. So I'd be having a conversation with Mark about, or he'd be having a conversation with me more like saying, what are you going to do with that blanket, because it doesn't go in the living room. Chief of interior design he is. So actually the colours would suit Mark's mum. So when I saw that Ammonite Yarns were selling this as a kit, I thought, fantastic opportunity to buy more wool, basically. So very quick introductory video before we crack on. I said if I just hold up the pattern a little bit closer, you can see we have these it's basic granny squares for this main part of the pattern here, and this navy and white is what you would probably recognize more as a standard granny stitch. So this is just the clusters, the stitches that give you that striping. This section here is also granny stitches. It's the exact same stitch, which is a UK treble or a US double crochet. But here, of course, we've actually got a pattern being created by the color work, and this is very much a new to me technique, because whereas with these standard granny stripes you just work back and forth with one color at a time, here we have two colors on the go. Here you can see the yellow and the blue. In some of the rows we'll actually have, for example, the pink, the red and the teal, or the green, the pink and the red. So new to me technique in how we strand the color work, which is quite interesting. So I've had a little bit of a lesson today, so I'll show you that in a moment. But simple construction, start at the bottom with the granny stripes. Then we make these little flowers. I think there are 20 something of the flowers that you make individually, then you crochet them on as you're going. Standard stripes, and then you repeat the pattern 3 times, I think. Maybe twice, maybe 3 times. I'm not sure. I haven't read it all the way through yet, as is usual. I like a bit of a surprise as I'm going. And then at the end, I think we then do a stripe up each side, and then we crochet all the way around in the border. So the yarn I'm using for this is the yarn that came with this. It was a set that I bought from Ammonite. So we have a lovely sort of stony colour. We've got a dark navy. We've got a red, a lovely light blue, and then we've got magenta, dark pink, purple, yellow, a lovely tealy colour, another red, which is a slightly different red, I believe. Yeah, so you've got two bright, I don't know if it shows on the camera, two different reds, and then a vibrant green. So this is all Stylecraft wool. It is the Stylecraft Life DK, so the double knit. And the reason I'm looking is there are two balls that aren't Life DK. And I'm just trying to find which they are to show you. And I'm guessing they're not Life DK because, haha, they are Special DK. So most of them are the Life double knit, and there are two, actually it's the two vibrant ones, which are the Special DK. So this is, the Special is 100% acrylic, so we have two balls of all acrylic, and then we have the Life is a 75% acrylic, 25% wool blend. I'm not snobby about knitting with acrylic yarn. It's very soft, it's very squishy, it's perfect for blankets. It's very, very affordable. The wool to make the entire kit, which will be the blanket and the cushion, was about £50, which is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 balls of wool. And the pattern, so it's very, very affordable to be able to make large scale projects. I've knit with this before. I said I've made my own blanket on the bed, which is just really squishy to snuggle down under. So I do often knit the vast majority of my projects in 100% wool, but I said I'm absolutely not one of those, not that there are many people, but there are some people like, I don't use acrylic. I think it absolutely has a purpose, certainly for baby garments, large projects like this. So I'm really excited to get on and get hooking, because you can't cast on in crochet, can you? No. So this is going to be my biggest project, because even though I've made a blanket before, this is going to be a much bigger blanket. And it's also going to be much more complicated, said, because there's lots of new techniques. I thought it was perfect for the video to bring you along with me. And yeah, so it's Friday night. I've just finished work, a slightly redder face, just did an exercise workout. Who am I in lockdown? So I'll stop rabbiting on. I'm going to record a very quick segment in a moment to show you a swatch that I've made. Exercise and swatching. I'm practically a changed person. And then I'm going to get going. So I thought I've got a bit of a quiet weekend, so I'm going to start and see how much progress I make. My plan is to try and do a couple of rows every few days, and then between end of August and end of November, hopefully, it should be finished, which means it's done in plenty of time for Christmas, and I'm not crocheting on Christmas Eve secretly in the bedroom while the mother-in-law is sat on the sofa. That would not be fun for anyone, would it? So it's going to be a bit of a dreary weekend, I think. I'm sitting in a slightly different place to where I often record some of these videos. It's very dark. It's about 5:45. The light isn't great where I usually record, so I've kind of come closer to the window to get some light. So hope you enjoy, and yeah, as usual, we'll remind you of all this at the end, but you know, like, subscribe, give me some comments, let me know what you think of this video. I really enjoy recording the project specific ones more than anything else, because it's really useful actually for me to finish a project and be able to go back in the editing then and see how I've made progress throughout. So really enjoy recording these, so I hope you enjoy watching them. So let me know what you think. So until we speak again, enjoy. So I'm going to be using a 4mm hook for this project. I've actually had a little tip from Gaëlle, because I had a bit of a crochet lesson with her this morning. I firmly believe that you're never too old to learn new things, to develop new skills, and certainly when I'm looking at new projects, I often try to pick a project with a skill that I've not done before or I'm not very proficient in, because I really like to challenge myself. So as I've talked about previously with the stranded grannies, this is absolutely a new to me technique. So I had a lesson earlier today with the lovely Gaëlle, who I would absolutely recommend for all of your crochet teachers. She's so patient, explains everything in such a clear way. And actually when I start, because I've got to chain the number of stitches, and then I'm going to do a treble into each stitch. Gaëlle has recommended I do my chains on a 4.5 mil, and then I do my trebles in the 4, which means my chains won't be quite so tight, so the bottom of my work won't bunch up. Tip number 1 there. Sorry, I hit the camera. And this was what I wanted to show you. This is my swatch, and this was something that I did for my lesson with Gaëlle this morning. So here you can see are the chains running along the bottom, and then the trebles that sit within them, the US doubles. And I think my tension is fine. It's not pulling in, it's pretty even, but because I'm doing over 100 chains, I am going to follow Gaëlle's tip and just do the chains in a slightly bigger hook. But for the purpose of my lesson this morning, I actually just hooked up a very quick swatch, just 4 simple rows using 2 colors of granny stitches, which is just skip some stitches, 3 trebles, skip 2, 3 trebles, etc. So I did that, and then what we covered this morning was really how you do these color changes. And obviously, excuse there's no specific pattern here. I basically just did 2 grey, 2 orange, and then 2 grey, 2 orange, etc. So there's no specific pattern. This was just me randomly changing color every 2 stitches. But this is really how we're going to do the technique. So if I show you this up here you can see the grey, which is as I've carried the grey along the yarn. So actually, if I was coming to now put my next set of trebles into this gap here, I would actually pick that up, and then I put my treble in underneath both elements of that. And that's how you carry the yarn and how you hide the yarn. And you can pretty much see where I've changed colour and you can't see the legs. There's a little leg showing on these ones here, but do you know what? I think that's fine. You know, I'm changing colour. It isn't that noticeable, and I'm pretty impressed with myself for 15 minutes of crochet earlier on today to be able to do my swatch. And that's actually the wrong side that I was just showing you. So actually, when you flick it to the right side, you can't see those legs as clear. So I should have just done that, shouldn't I? So yeah, so crochet has a right side and a wrong side. So this is the wrong side. So there are the occasional floats that you can see, but actually when you flip it over, you can't really see where the joins are. And there is a right side and a wrong side, because if we just flick back to the pattern, here we have these flowers. So there will be a definite front and a back to the flower design. So I don't mind the fact that on one side of the blanket you can kind of see a little bit of the floats, because I said that will be the back side of it, and the front side I think is going to look great. So I said, please excuse the mess of the look of the pattern, because there isn't a pattern, it was just every other square. But it's a really, really simple technique to be able to carry the yarn along as we're going. So I'd carry the orange here, and as I'm putting my grey crochets through, you can kind of see there, if I pick this, can I pick this? Kind of. You can see the orange where I've cut it if I really try and pull it out. So yeah, that's kind of what we're going to be doing, following the pattern. This is absolutely not a tutorial. I am nowhere near proficient enough to be able to give you a lesson in stranded crochet, but I hope that kind of has been of interest to kind of show you how we're going to be doing a standard granny stripe, which, you know, these 2 stripes here are just exactly what we're going to be doing here. And then here, where we have this lovely diamond effect in the colours, this is the technique that we're going to be using. So off we go. Let's get chaining. Just checking in, it's Saturday, so I did a cast on row last night, and then I did the 2 rows of just the plain grannies. And then this morning I've started the colour work. So I'm on row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just finished row 6. And yeah, it's not going too bad. So this is the right side, I believe. So you can see a little bit of some of the stranding. But you know what? Like I said earlier on, I'm kind of okay with that. So I like the fact that you can see the pattern developing now. We can see the blue V appearing. And of course, you can see here, there's the red, the strand. So I need to pick that up. So I'll go underneath that with my hook, which will hide that out of the way then, where I hook the red in with the pink. So you can see that row of the stranding here at the top. And yeah, I'm pretty pleased. I think my starter row is ever so slightly tight. I did Gaëlle's trick and I did it on a 4.5. But of course, I think for some reason, these trebles are slightly bigger than the cluster, slightly smaller than the cluster, sorry. So it is pulling ever so slightly. But I think when I block it out, I think that will all be fine. And worst case scenario, this is only one straight edge of a much bigger border. So worst case scenario here, for example, when I come down, I'll just stick an extra 2 stitches in here. So whilst this bottom bit may pull ever so slightly, I'm sure I can correct that by putting a couple of extra stitches in here, so when we come around the border, it doesn't pull. So, you know, what Martin fudges, the eye gets away with, kind of thing. So just a quick check-in video. I said I'm pretty pleased. You can see in this row here, I had 3 colours on the go, because I had the teal, the pink, and the red. So I've done that, just done a pink and red row. The next row is also a 3 colour. So we are shortly off out and we're away for the night. So won't do any more on this until tomorrow. So just thought I would check in. But so far, so good. So a quick check-in video. It is Saturday the 5th of September and I'm out for coffee. First time since lockdown, like properly out on a Saturday, having brunch, doing my crochet or my knitting. So I'm in a coffee shop, I'm in Big Moose. I will spin you around and show you a little bit of the autumn interior in a bit. I don't have my tripod, but I thought I'll do a quick video. So we are going to be doing the flowers for the blanket. And it's a 3-round pattern repeat. And I'm hoping that I'm going to do it in stages. If I show you, so you can see the pattern. So rather than making, I've got to make 13 of them, but rather than doing 13 separately, I'm going to make them in bits. So I'm going to make all the middles, then do the next row, and then to the next row. So that's my Saturday. It's going to be productive. I know it is. There we go. So we've got 13 little flowers that are basically just a chain into a circle, and then you chain trebles all around the middle. So I've got my 13 middles, I've got another Americano, and I will be now starting round 2 using this lily. I'm done for today. I've been here a couple of hours, so we've got our pile of, as you saw, our 13 centres, and I've now started the second round, which adds the petals. So this stitch is called the popcorn stitch, which is a series of 5 trebles that you then pull together to form this little popcorn, little bubble. The back looks really cute as well. So yeah, so I'm working my way through. I've done 5 of these. And sadly now life gets in the way because I now need to go to the opticians. Very glamorous for a Saturday, but no more progress for the time being. So I'm feeling pretty productive. Plenty of coffee. Plenty of news. Look at that, leaving the world. Definitely love a bit of good news. It's where you find me on my days off, on my weekend, knitting, crocheting, drinking tea. So next update video will probably be when we finish these, as we then start the 3rd round of the pattern. Home now then, after a productive day out and following the opticians. I did a little bit of shop with Mark, and then I've come home and I finished off my flowers. So we've finished the outer layer, so they all have round 2 complete. They've all got their little popcorn stitches, and then I'm shortly going to turn a circle into a square. So the next step is with the green colour, and we're going to do granny squares basically. So I'm going to turn this into a square. I have no idea how to do that. I'm going to need to read the pattern. That might not be tonight's task, that might be tomorrow's. But yeah, we are making progress with the flowers. And there we have it, 13 flowers complete. It worked really well doing it in a little production line. So I've now done the 3rd round on all of them, which is to take the circle and turn them into little mini granny squares. I've been good and sewn all the ends in. So the next step, just to finish this section B off, is to start to crochet these onto the blanket. So I believe it's crochet on the go, in the go. We start here and I come round on 2 sides, and then I join 2 together with some grannies, and then I do 2 sides, and then I join that on, and so on and so forth. So we'll start to build that, and then that will go across the length of the blanket. So productive weekend, love the colours, and to quote my favourite musical Wicked, pink does go good with green. So there we go. On to the next section. Join as we go. Good morning. I thought I'd just check in and film the next section. I've finished attaching 3 of the squares, and if I'm honest, now I've done the 3, I now understand what I need to do. But not being a vastly experienced crocheter, the hardest bit of this was actually understanding what the pattern wanted me to do, because crochet patterns are still a little bit of a foreign language. But I've attached the 3, so I just thought I'd show you how the construction takes place. So you take the individual squares and you just reattach the yarn into one of the corners, and then you create your standard sort of granny square approach, so into your 3 trebles. Where you come to this corner, then you do your 3 trebles, you do a slip stitch, you do a chain 1, and then you attach that corner to this corner, and then you continue down. You don't join then these 2 corners together, you actually join this corner to the blanket. So you do end up with a little gap in between, and I have checked and it is correct. I've checked the pattern at various stages. It is correct. So you sort of anchor into the corners here, and then once you attach those 2 squares together, you attach this square to the main part of the blanket, and then you come and do an unjoined side here, and then so on and so forth. You then continue. So that's it. So it's actually, now I know what I'm doing, the construction is not too slow. It's pretty quick, and I do quite like this effect because you can see here we have the granny, sort of the traditional granny with your blue clusters, but then you can also see these little slip stitch sort of V motifs where these have been slip stitched into place, and actually you don't do a double granny cluster here. You have your granny cluster, and then these are just joined also by a slip stitch. If I open that up slightly, you can see the slip stitches here. So it's not too bad actually, because you do a slip stitch, do your cluster, do a slip stitch, do a cluster. So there we go. So I'm going to continue to make progress along this. We are leaving for our week away in a couple of hours time, so I'm not going to get all these done, sadly. But I'm going to do as many as I can, and then I'm taking the blanket with me. So I will check in again when there's a bit more to show. So we've come to the end of our week away, had a really great relaxing break, and I got a bit of crochet done. So I finished sewing in the squares. Before I came, I think I had 6 or 7 of them in. So finished sewing in the squares, doing the join as you go granny. So they're all in, which is great. And then I've also done 3 rows of the navy, and I've done 2 rows of the cream colour. So it's not been too bad. I've done a little bit of knitting as well. So I've managed to do a little bit of crafting each day. Massive yarn bath. I tried to do a centre pull and pull too much. There we are. It'll get used now shortly. And that's it. Bit of a simple section on the pattern now, because we've got these navy and cream stripes. So I've got another cream one to go. And then I repeat those, I think, so that I have 3 colours of each. So we'll get to what? Here, I think. And then once we've done that, it's then a case of another repeat of the opening motif. And I think the whole thing just repeats then. So not far off being a third of the way through, I reckon, which is a good bit of progress. Oh, and also I found myself some time. I've sewn in all my ends where I've attached the squares, and I've also sewn all the ends in as I came down this one side. So I had a little bit of time before we went out on a day trip. So I managed to sew a few ends in. So just this side to go. But I'm glad I did that, because that means I've got less to sew in at the end, which I am notorious for not doing ends as I go. I get to the end of the project and then spend 3 or 4 hours sewing in. So there we go. Well, fast forward many months. It's now Monday, the 21st of December, and yes, I can hear you all going, oh, well, why was there such a gap? Why indeed? I haven't edited this vlog together yet, and I think the last bit you've just watched was probably me at the cottage, where I have just finished the flowers. There may have been a video when I was halfway through, perhaps. But anyway, a long time has passed in the blanket, and yeah, I flew through the early parts, got a little bit cocky. I'll have this done in time for Christmas, in no time at all. And it hibernated because I worked on a number of other projects. And it's now the 21st of December. There are 4 sleeps till Christmas, 3 sleeps till the mother-in-law, who's having this as a gift, arrives, and it's not finished. But actually, there's not been a lot of progress to show you all, because you've seen all the main techniques, you've seen all the main bits of the blanket, the flowers, the extra, just the granny rows. So the main body is done. I finished it last night. So it's very big, and I'm just loving it. I finished the main body last night. I then spent this morning, I spent about 3 hours. Oh, yes, you can all judge me for not sewing my ends in as I went. I know you're all telling me as you're watching these vlogs, make sure you sew in your ends. Yeah, I didn't. So I spent 3 hours this morning sewing in my ends. But I'm now onto the final stage. I don't know why I keep picking up. I think it's because I like it. It's so colourful. It's going to be a great gift. So I'm now doing the final stage of adding the border. So I thought I would just quickly show you the next bit of the construction, because this is the final interesting bit, I think. So you'll recall this is the start of the colourwork section, and I started off with a foundation row in the heather colour that I then added the colourwork section. So I cast on here with my chains, and then the project grew. So what I've just done now, I have added a row of trebles along the top. So I've got another foundation row effectively, top and bottom. And then the next step then for the border is along the long side, I've double crocheted, so single crochet in American terms. I've double crocheted stitches on top. Easier on the flowers because it's one stitch for each stitch. Slightly more tricky. The pattern gives me a number of stitches I need in this section, for example, so I had to try and work that out. There's a few times I'd ripped it out. I had too many stitches, not enough, and I didn't want it to be too loose. I didn't want it to bunch. So along the long row, I've now done this double crochet, which effectively gives me another foundation row. And then just so that I can show you, I've now finished the first long row. So this is in the cranberry color. Apologies for the light, it's late. I wanted to just record this so I had some footage to show you the progress before I get to finish the border. So on top of those double crochet foundation rows, I've now done a row of half trebles, so half doubles in the US term. So I've come up the blanket in my half trebles. I'm then going to do a couple of trebles in the corner to turn, and then I'm going to come down the foundation row, and then I'm just going to work around it. So it should be quite straightforward. Now I've done the foundations, I've got all my stitches in place, I should just be able to wheedle around the blanket. So this is row 1 in the cranberry, and it's a 5 round border. So I'm hoping I can get a few of these done this evening. The final edging, it looks, to me as a knitter, it looks like a picot edge. I'll film a little bit more about that when I get to that technique later this week. Hopefully tomorrow, because, you know, Christmas is coming. But that's the only one. I've not done that before. It's something to do with, I do a chain, then a series of, I think it's trebles, and then another chain. And I think I do that on every stitch. So I think it gives a little, it looks like a picot edge to me as a knitter, but I'll do a bit of investigating on that. So 5 rounds of half trebles, a different color for each of the rounds. So I'm very nearly there. I'm hoping I can get at least 2 or 3 rounds done this evening. And then I finish work now, so for Christmas. So if I don't get it finished today, I should hopefully get it finished tomorrow. And with an ideally, I'd like to get this done Tuesday, so it's done by the 22nd, and then it can be wrapped under the tree in plenty of time to gift to mother-in-law. I think I said in an earlier video, I didn't want to be doing this on Christmas Eve while she's sitting on the sofa and I'm hiding in the bedroom trying to finish it. So I shouldn't have put it down. I put it down, it's fine. We're gonna get it done. So the final stage of the blanket, I'm very nearly there. So the next time you see this, it should be finished, or I'll be on the final round. I'll show you a little bit of that footage. Quick check-in video. I have finished the main bits of the border. So here you can probably just about make out the heather colour. Then we've gone for cranberry, fuchsia, pillar box and teal. So I've got the 4 rows of the edging. The final home straight, it is Tuesday the 22nd. Yeah, so I might have this finished this evening. So if I do, I will take a little picture in the daylight tomorrow. You can see Mark in the picture. He's in the mirror. We're trying to decide where to have a tea. We've just done a FaceTime with friends because we're back in lockdown. So there we go. I'm nearly there. 2 sleeps till the mother-in-law arrives. It's done. So, final video for me on the boho blanket. It's Christmas Eve. So I got my Christmas jumper on to film the footage. And yeah, it's finished. It's way too big for me to try and show it off. Like, I've tried all ways to lay it out and I can't. So I'm just gonna show it off standing up. So here we go in all its glory. So there's the border that I finished. And I think I said it's almost like a little picot border in knitting. It's just a chain, then a stitch, and then another chain. I won't tell you because obviously copyright. But yeah, so the border is finished. And then we've got this lovely pattern that you've seen me create. Yeah, it's way too big for me to be able to show you. If I hold it, you can see it's probably single bed size. And if you remember from the first part of this video, the idea is a gift for my mother-in-law, Mark's mum. She loves to read of an evening, and she wraps herself up in a blanket if it gets a bit cold. And I think this will be perfect lap size to sit down with a good book and snuggle up in the warm. So yeah, I really like it. I'm so glad that I grabbed this project when I saw it on sale at Ammonite Yarns, and I've done my first ever complicated crochet blanket, and I really like these color changing grannies, which was a new skill to me. There's so many things in this in this blanket that I've learned that I love it. So I guess just before I go, I've got a couple of comments to share. I've never made a blanket like this before. I'm probably going to regret this now. We've got the heating on, I've got a jumper on, and now I've wrapped myself in the blanket, a la a shawl. But yeah, I've got some comments. So this bag is still full of yarn. Now, don't get me wrong, I absolutely understand that the designer and Stylecraft have to make money. They're a business. But, like, I've got all this blue left. Why? Ball of this, ball of this, ball of this. You get in the picture. Granted, there is a cushion, and I've not done the cushion. So yes, of course, there's blue there, but like with that little blue, am I really going to need a ball and a bit? So I think my only comment is I bought this as a kit. It was about £50, which it's not a lot of money for the amount of wool that I bought. But I really kind of feel, having now done it and seen how much wool I've got left. Yes, of course, the designer has created this design, but from a customer's perspective, like, what am I meant to do with all of this wool that I've got left now? Because there's not a full ball of everything. So it's quite difficult, I think, to work out what another project would be. So I guess it's just a little bit of beef that it's a really colourful project, but could we have had one or two colours less in the design in here, for example, that would have meant we wouldn't have had so much yarn left over? I think that's one of my issues. The second issue, and this is my own error, I have a whole ball of this that I haven't used, that I should have used, but I used all of this. Now, this probably isn't going to show up too great on the camera, but this is much more vibrant, more like, it's called Crimson and this is Pillar Box, but this is a much more brighter red in real life. The pattern has a colour key here. Now, you can't really tell the difference on here between, like, there's not two reds, and that is meant to be those two reds, but fleeting visit, you can see there's a chart. I'm not showing you anymore because of copyright, but it's so subtle that actually where the reds appear in the chart, they're far enough apart on the pattern that they actually look the same. So as I followed the pattern, and I've used the red here, and then the pattern tells me to use red here, and then red here, actually on the pattern, it looks the same colour that I should be using, the Pillar Box. And it was only when I got about halfway through, I had why have I got this ball? And I had a haha moment that one of these, and I think it's this section here, should have been done in this. But again, why has the designer used two very subtle reds that stands out. So that should have been in that red that it was in, but this should have been in a brighter red. Does it really make that much difference? I think they've just done it to sell an extra ball of wool. Call me cynical, I don't know. But that's my only two things. I've loved the pattern mostly. I think it's very, for my first crochet written pattern, it's very clearly laid out. There were a few things I got confused on with the joining in the round, and actually once I'd joined a few squares, I knew what I needed to do, and I just did it without referring to the pattern. That's absolutely not the pattern's fault. That's me and my lack of crochet experience understanding. So the pattern's very well written. I would probably do another Stylecraft kit, but it has just made me think about the overall design. When I'm looking at this, how much wool comes with the kit? Do I need all of that wool? Do I need to buy a kit? Can I buy the pattern separately and buy my own yarn? Because, you know, as I said, I've not made the cushion yet, but I've got pretty much a whole ball of this left. I've got a whole ball of this because I haven't opened it, plus all of these. Plus there's more in here. Oh, the other thing, I ran out of yellow. So of course this yellow feature, this yellow motif down the bottom, appears 3 times at the bottom, the middle and the end, but I was 2 rows short. Now, if anything, I've ummed and ahed over this, and I've looked back. If anything, my tension is tighter, not looser, because you'll recall from the very beginning of this video, I started this after having a lesson with Gaëlle, and I didn't know what I was doing. And with the colour work, my tension is definitely tighter on the one end than it is on the other. Only subtly, and I would notice there, but Mark's mum won't. But therefore, if my tension was tighter, how have I used more yarn? I don't know. So I had to go to Ammonite, and fortunately they had another ball in stock, so I was able to finish this for Christmas. But I had to buy another ball of this. So yeah, I don't know. That's my only comment on this as a kit as a whole. But the actual project, I love it. It's getting warm now. So yeah, that's it. It is Christmas Eve. I did joke earlier on in the video, I don't want to be sitting here Christmas Eve doing it while mother-in-law is sitting on the sofa. Fortunately, I finished it with, I've sewn in the ends this morning on the border, and now I'm just videoing it with you so that I can wrap it, and I've got 2 hours to go before I need to leave and pick it up. So I've done it in plenty of time. I got a bit complacent. I think I said earlier on that you might have seen a video halfway. When I was editing this together, there was a video that I filmed when I was halfway through, and I said, oh look, it's the end of September, I've made good progress with this, maybe I should leave it and pick it up in December because it's a quick project. And I said, oh no, actually, if it is a quick project, I should just finish it. But I inadvertently deleted that video. It was only a 60-second or so bit to camera about I'm halfway. But yeah, I probably shouldn't have stopped because it is Christmas Eve and I literally am to the wire. But I said, once you've got that technique for these carrying the colours, you're well away, because the rest of it is, it's all trebles, stitches, US doubles, very easy to do. So thank you very much for watching. I'm going to leave this video there. This was a project vlog following the progress on the Boho Blanket. If you've watched and you've enjoyed and you haven't subscribed to my video, please click the subscribe button. It really helps me as a channel to find new people to watch my videos. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe, but it really does help me. And if you give me a little thumbs up, that also helps me, but it also helps YouTube recommend similar content for you because it thinks you like this video, so it will help other searches for you to for it bring content up for you to watch. Please leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think of this project. Let me know if you've done any crochet blankets similar to this, whether you've got any in plan for 2021. It is Christmas Eve. I'm probably going to get this video up. It'll probably be January now, so you're probably watching this in the new year, so you'll probably think, why is the lunatic in a Christmas jumper? But there we go. So thank you very much for watching, and until we get to spend some time together again, happy crafting.